Hey, how's it going? How's it going, everyone? A little bit of a impromptu stream, I guess, dealing with the Better Call Saul withdrawal, if you will, because right around now is when the time I usually got ready to watch season 6 of a Better Call Saul new episode, but that is no more. So, I was thinking about this episode over the course of the last week, like I think everyone was. What is up, everyone? Jason Osborne, Matt D, The Silent Revolution, Nick Russ, Ryan Sheedy, what is up? So, a little bit of an impromptu stream here. Wasn't really planning this. Didn't know what was going to happen here with my schedule today. But, like I said, the Saul withdrawal is real. So, like I said, this is, right around the time I'd be watching this. So I thought I would, like I said, I was kind of thinking about this series more and more as the week progressed. And definitely my thoughts have been marinating for sure in respect to my opinions on this series overall. And yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, I don't know about you, but it's pretty damn obvious that in hindsight, Better Call Saul here was not really a true prequel to Breaking Bad in the sense that I think all fans of Better Call Saul thought it might be, where we would see, of course, Saul Goodman, the infamous brash and brazen criminal lawyer who teamed up with Walter White in season 2 of Breaking Bad, and we'd sort of see who this character was in the immediate future, in the immediate past to when he eventually met Walter White in the plot of Breaking Bad. But it was actually kind of crazy in the grand scheme of things. This actually was kind of a love story the entire time, right in front of our faces. When truly, Better Call Saul was not about Saul Goodman. It was truly the entire time about this story between Jimmy and Kim. It was absolutely this was the absolute story that they were presenting to us over the course of this series. And it's kind of funny as the the subplot was happening over the course of this series with everything that had to deal with the backstory of Breaking Bad with Nacho Varga. And eventually we first see Nacho Varga and we see Tuco Salamanca, and eventually builds and builds to the sort of backstory of the cartel that was happening prior to Walter White entering the Albuquerque criminal underworld. It's kind of crazy where all of the sort of Breaking Bad storylines that were presented to us over the course of Better Call Saul was just sort of telling us what was happening in the background, and of course as it relates to Jimmy and Kim. And all of it, every single little bit of it, the sort of entire build when we first meet Tuco Salamanca and Tuco introduces us to Nacho Varga. Basically, it's kind of crazy. It's sort of the entire backstory that's happening in the background that eventually leads to Gus Fring coming back in the fold, and then of course Hector Salamanca, of course, before Gus Fring, and that whole backstory, and eventually Lalo coming into the fold, and eventually the sort of paths eventually meet and cross in season 6 of Better Call Saul. Truly, I mean, with Jimmy and Kim, all of the sort of worlds sort of collide in the episode entitled Plan and Execution. And it's kind of crazy where I really thought, again, I feel like it's kind of sort of a long-winded sort of explanation there, but I think like myself, like a lot of fans of Better Call Saul, definitely thought we would see much more of Saul Goodman. I really thought we would see much more of the 2004 to 2008 Saul Goodman, that 4-year span that encompassed Saul Goodman's life prior to him meeting Walter White in the episode entitled Better Call Saul. What is up, Taco Truck Engineer, Suburban Catholic, how's it going? Pattern Slice 9900. I really thought we would see more of that backstory. And yeah, it's pretty crazy to think that we didn't really get to see Saul at all, to tell you the truth. And I don't, if my memory serves me correctly, I don't think in the entire universe of Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, we ever saw Saul Goodman sort of alone, all by himself. It was, even when we saw him, the very few scenes that we saw of the true Saul Goodman character who Walter White met when he walked into his office in the year 2008 in season 2 of season 2 of Breaking Bad. It's pretty crazy because we go back to the episode entitled Fun and Games. Of course, we see Saul Goodman waking up with that prostitute, and he's with the prostitute the entire time, more or less, and he's going about his daily life, and he's never all by himself. We never got to see Saul Goodman all by himself in his home, ever, in the entire universe and that Vince Gilligan created for us. And even the brief glimpses into Saul Goodman's life that were presented to us over the course of Better Call Saul, he was truly never alone with himself. And it was kind of true. I mean, shout out to Courtney Reviews for pointing this out to me, but it's true. As soon as he woke up, he immediately was just, he couldn't be alone with his thoughts. And it was truly revealed to us that this wasn't a man who was sort of always like this, if you will. Again, it's sort of, very nuanced in respect to Walter White's dialogue that occurred in this episode about how you were always like this. But Saul Goodman is true. It was just emotional coping, dealing with the sort of breaking up of Kim Wexler and this sort of persona that he truly just, again, used as sort of an emotional crutch to just deal with the absolute pain he was experiencing, I suppose. And again, I feel like I've sort of, hashed this out, for more or less. But again, I don't know about you guys, but I really just thought we'd see much more of Saul. But again, that's the crazy thing about Better Call Saul. It wasn't about what was happening immediately prior to Walter White meeting Saul Goodman in the plot of Breaking Bad. It was truly about the story of Jimmy and Kim. And it was just displaying to us everything that just happened to be going on at the exact same time in the sort of Breaking Bad universe. It was just sort of coincidental in many respects. And it was basically showing us the backstory that eventually led to Lalo Salamanca shooting Howard Hamlin in the face. That's at least sort of my sort of reading of all of this after sort of thinking about this story for a week. And yeah, I really thought we'd see much more of the Breaking Bad backstory, but again, it wasn't about this. It was never about that. And it's kind of crazy to think. I wonder, I mean, truly, I don't even think the creators sort of knew what their sort of initial plan for the story was when it was first created. And just to see the sort of story ebb and flow over the course of this series was actually kind of, pretty interesting for sure. And what is up, Joe Blow? What is up? How you doing? What is up, Sky Green? So he's alone in the scene where he's bouncing the ball. That's about it, though. Yeah, again, but at the same time, he's still at his office, and Francesca's there with him. He's talking to Francesca. He's still at work at Sky Green, and we never saw him just home alone decompressing. And I wonder if it's sort of the sort of premise of that at Sky Green is that he was just always on. He was just always in Saul Goodman mode. He could never truly be alone with his thoughts, and he always just had to embrace this persona. He always had to be, having meaningless carnal liaisons with prostitutes. He had to be, using Xanax. He had to be always just scheming and making more money and trying to just fill this void that he basically had in his life ever since the year 2004. So, yeah, at Sky Green, even that scene of him bouncing the ball in the episode entitled Waterworks, he was still at work. And I'm thinking back to just the plot of Better Call Saul. And the scenes we got, the flash forward scene that took place in the episode entitled Fun and Games, he wakes up immediately, he's with the prostitute, and then he's driving to work, he's speaking to Francesca. Basically, as soon as he wakes up, he's either talking to the prostitute or talking to Francesca as soon as he enters the office. He's immediately in work mode. And again, we saw the scene of his house, but he wasn't in it, of course, in the cold opening scene of Wine and Roses. And at the same time, yeah, again, that other scene that took place Nippy was only the Gene Tagovic storyline, and of course the episode entitled Breaking Bad, we see him with Walt and Jesse, and we also see him with Mike Ehrmantraut, again, him warning him not to get involved with Walter White. Of course, we see him sort of walking in to speak with Walter White, but again, I don't even really count those sort of scenes, the sort of in-between scenes where he's about to go and sort of interact with someone. We never got to see the sort of downtime of Saul Goodman, and you wonder if he was even sort of ever had a moment to decompress, or he ever sort of allowed himself to even sit alone with his thoughts for an hour or two. We never knew, because like I said, we didn't see that in Breaking Bad. And of course, the episode entitled Waterworks, again, the scenes we saw of him were in the context of Kim Wexler, of course. And of course, and at the same time in Saul Gone, he was with Walter White. So truly, we never saw Saul Goodman alone. And I think that was kind of what the creators were trying to display to us, that he was always just in character, if you will. And again, I go back to that unbelievable webisode, Live Saul Cam, where he's basically, again, alone in his office in character. He's playing some sort of video poker app. Again, he has sex with a prostitute again in his office. And yeah, just sort of, I guess, filling the emotional void in his life. And again, that's the sort of the thing I wasn't expecting whatsoever. When we first met Saul Goodman, I truly thought he was just, again, it's just kind of crazy. I don't even know what I thought. I definitely didn't think this. Of course, I don't think anyone could have surmised this unbelievably deep backstory about him just having so much of an emotional connection to Kim Wexler, and of course Charles McGill as well was the other component of that storyline. So yeah, it's at Francisco Florimon. Addiction to a false persona is a heck of a drug. Yeah, I suppose so. Again, I'm no clinical psychologist, so I'm sorry you can't. I can't. I'm no expert on all of that, but I see what you're saying there for sure. So yeah, just Dan. But that wasn't that right before Mike Ehrmantraut walked into his office again. I mean, I feel like the point of that webisode at Just Dan live Saul Cam, I think was kind of they kind of adhered to that as canon more or less, where he was always in character even in his office, but we never ever saw him alone at home, and I was really hoping to see that. But again, maybe the sort of story they crafted and displayed to us in Better Call Saul displayed to us that he never sort of had the sort of moment to decompress. He was always on. He was always assuming this persona. I mean, at the end of the day, we'll have the rest of our lives to speculate, but it's yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about for sure. Yeah, Joe Blow. Yeah, meaning yeah, that's funny for sure. So yeah, actually, at Hannah, that's a really interesting point. You say it seems like Jimmy exposed all of the dead players in the game, and actually, I was actually going back and thinking back to when he initially made that plea deal for 7.5 years in the beginning of the series finale, and my thought and need also went to the question of why didn't Saul also give up Ed the Disappearer? Because I thought about that as well. That's another person he could have gave up theoretically. He also could have said as a sort of a way to even lessen his plea deal and get another, again, I don't even know what you call them, a stipulation where he gets, I guess he could have turned in Ed the Disappearer for his Bluebell ice cream theoretically, I thought. But again, I don't think this was an overlook by Saul whatsoever. I think he definitely realized that if he gave up Ed the Disappearer, his entire fiction would unravel. Because if, Ed the Disappearer was somehow caught by the feds, then of course he would say that Walt and Saul disappeared at the same time. They stayed together. And again, I don't know, maybe that would sort of have his fiction unravel where he was afraid of Walter White and he was afraid Walt would kill him, but he was engaging with him in the basement of Ed the Disappearer's vacuum cleaner repair shop for 2 to 3 years. And so, again, maybe his whole fiction would unravel there in respect to him being afraid of Walter White. I don't know. Maybe at the same time, Saul could sort of find a way to spin it. But again, I did wonder that he gave up everybody. He named everyone's name. I mean, he basically gave everyone Walt, Jesse, all of his associations and everything like that. But I wondered why he didn't give up Ed the Disappearer. But again, maybe it would because his fiction would sort of unravel there if he gave up Ed as well. But again, who knows? I'm not sure what the creators. I don't know if that sort of thought was had in the writers' room. Why Jimmy could have given up Ed theoretically as well. Someone who helped Walter White disappear, absolutely aided and abetted a wanted man. Again, I'm not so sure about the evidence that the feds could have used, like the legitimate evidence that the feds had against Ed to disappear. Maybe again, that's a whole another sort of backstory. We could speculate and speculate all day long, but was that the case, Hannah? I'm not too sure. I just rewatched El Camino a few weeks ago, and did he sort of hang up his spurs after he helped Jesse move to Alaska? I'm not so sure about that. But that yeah, I don't remember that from the film at Hannah. I'm not too sure. So that again, I wondered about that. Ed Disappear wasn't brought up at all by Saul, and I definitely thought he could potentially again use him as another sort of stipulation for his plea deal. But again, like at the end of the day, this was a this was a love story at the end of the day. So again, so many thoughts here in respect to this finale for sure. And yeah, again, there's just so much of the sort of Breaking Bad backstory that I thought we would maybe see. I know there's so many, I guess, scenes that I think fans would have liked to see. They would have absolutely, I think, liked to see a definitive confirmation that Daniel Wormold was Danny who owns the laser tag. We would have maybe liked to see Patrick Kuby. We would have maybe also liked to potentially see just all of the other sort of components of the Breaking Bad backstory that were sort of displayed to us in dialogue that we did not see. Again, if the story was more about the sort of immediate past of Gus Fring prior to Walter White teaming up with Saul Goodman, we could maybe see the sort of story of that was happening with Declan that Mike told Walter White about in season 5 of Breaking Bad in the episode entitled Buyout. So, but again, it wasn't about that. It truly wasn't even really a Breaking Bad spinoff. It was just a sort well, it technically was a Breaking Bad spinoff, but it was more or less just the story of Jimmy and Kim that was the story. And the Breaking Bad component was really sort of secondary in hindsight, and it's definitely not something I was expecting at all. So, yeah, at Midnight Madness, we need a spinoff called Finding Kubi. Yeah. Yeah, it is what it is, unfortunately. And yeah, like I said, in hindsight, they weren't going to ramrod Patrick Kubi into the storyline if it didn't directly impact the backstory of Jimmy and Kim. And it would have actually been pretty great if Kubi could have appeared in a season 5 of Better Call Saul in the episode entitled Dedicado a Max, because that sort of backstory was directly impacting the story of Jimmy and Kim that was happening when they were trying to undermine Mesa Verde in order to help Mr. Acker stay on his land. And if they hired a PI because Mike could not work because he was recovering down in Mexico in that episode, that happened to be Patrick Kubi, that would have directly related to the Jimmy and Kim storyline. And in hindsight, I would have absolutely loved that. But again, in hindsight, they were not going to ramrod all of these Breaking Bad characters into the story if it did not directly deal with Jimmy and Kim's storyline. And that's what's kind of crazy. All the background noise that is happening over the course of this series will eventually directly deal with these two characters. And yeah, it's kind of crazy. I wasn't expecting that for sure. That like I said, that this was going to be a Jimmy and Kim love story. Again, I don't know. I don't. Again, I appreciate it for what it is for sure. But yeah, I'm not so sure. I'm not as much of a romantic as some people. So I was not sort of totally taken away with the sort of love story component of all of it. Like I said, I definitely appreciated it for what it was. But yeah, I was just in hindsight very surprised that again, Breaking Bad was secondary in this entire storyline. Yeah, at Hannah, I don't think that was the case again. If I rewatched El Camino a couple weeks ago, maybe it was last week, but yeah, I don't think anything about Ed retiring or being out of the game after Jesse Pinkman used his services was displayed to us in that film, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it's Steve Bob JD. So yeah, at Point Blank, it appears that reward poster that was displayed to us in that teaser for the $5 million, it appears that was just that wasn't canon. That was apparently just an advertisement of some kind, a sort of promotional teaser that wasn't canon. I guess Thomas Schnauz wasn't lying about that at Point Blank. Yeah, Jeff R. Yeah, why wouldn't Badger have been rearrested since the DEA knew he was connected to Heisenberg? Again, I don't know if they can sort of arrest him. Oh, again, are you talking about El Camino? Yeah, again, that's actually kind of an interesting question. Again, I don't know if Skinny Pete revealed to the DEA that Badger was with him because, again, like I talked about in a past stream, Skinny Pete absolutely aided and abetted a wanted fugitive, Jesse Pinkman, and Jesse took Badger's car and drove that, and that's how that was the car he was driving around in El Camino. So again, I don't know what ends up happening with that car. I don't know if the police end up finding it, but yeah, I mean, if again, I'm not even sure what the living arrangement of that house is. Is Badger's name legally on the house? Are they both paying rent? Are they both on the lease at Jeff Erai? I apologize on that name. So yeah, it's yeah, I'm not. Again, we could sort of nitpick all of the sort of potential continuity errors all day long. Again, I still absolutely love this series, but yeah, again, I talked about this a little bit earlier. I was kind of wondering why Saul didn't turn in Ed to Disappear as another sort of potential component of his initial plea deal, and I guess that would just maybe make his story unravel because I was thinking about the fact where he said, of course, he did everything he did because he was absolutely petrified that Walter White would kill him, and when I ran, I did not run from the police. I ran from Walter White. But again, if he turns in Ed, I guess Ed can tell him that he and Walt were in the basement together. But again, it's sort of his word against Saul's. And I don't know. He would have to sort of somehow prove that they were together again. He did have the security footage. That is true. That did sort of just pop into my mind, that security footage. So those tapes could absolutely screw Saul, where he's sort of interacting with Walter White right before he flees. So yeah, I think that's why he couldn't turn Ed to disappear. As part of his plea deal, I initially thought about that. Like, he's giving up everyone. Why isn't he giving up Ed? That's such a huge chip. This disappearer, the disappearer that's in the Albuquerque criminal underworld, that's aiding and abetting these wanted criminals. He aided and abetted Walter White and Jesse Pinkman, who, according to El Camino, ran the biggest meth racket in United States history. So, yeah, at Burt Ben, Saul withdraw anyone. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely for sure. So yeah, again, yeah, at Hannah, yeah, again, we could sort of nitpick sort of all the little details all day. And yeah, at Frank Murray, yeah, I wish Price made an appearance as well, but like I talked about, the story was about Jimmy and Kim, and the Breaking Bad components that were happening were absolutely secondary. And if they didn't directly somehow relate to Jimmy and Kim's storyline in season 6 of Better Call Saul, it wasn't going to be displayed to us, and that's why we didn't probably get to see Price, and why we didn't get to see Kubi, and an assortment of other Breaking Bad backstory storylines. I mean, I would have loved to see the backstory of Declan that Mike talked about in the episode entitled Buyout, where he tells Walter White that he has a connection back from his time with Fring. He's has the capital, and he has connections. And it's absolutely clear to us that in this sort of period of time that we did not get to see in Better Call Saul between the year 2005 and 2008, Gus Fring absolutely was doing some sort of deals with Declan. Again, the exact details we'll never know. We could only speculate on. I suppose, we could write our own fan fiction about it or something to that effect. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. And to tell you the truth, I'm actually kind of surprised that they well, in hindsight, not that surprised, but even the way they sort of left Gus Fring's storyline in the plot of this in this series, where it was truly more about, I guess, defining Gus Fring's character. Again, it was never ever about, in hindsight, I mean, I should have seen it coming, but it was never ever about the immediate backstory of a Breaking Bad. It was never going to be that. I think a lot of people thought we would see Saul and we would see the sort of immediate backstory to Breaking Bad prior to Walter White. We would see what happened between '05 and '08, the sort of period of time we really didn't get to see. But again, that's not what it was about, and it's kind of funny. I feel like there's an entire another spin-off out there. I know it's never happening, it's just pie in the sky, but I think all fans would love to see what happened between '05 and '08. All of the sort of backstories in Breaking Bad that were displayed to us. I think fans would absolutely love to see that. Who wouldn't love to see all of the things I just talked about? All of the sort of dialogue that was mentioned in Breaking Bad being displayed to us. Um, in the course of Better Call Saul, but instead we got the Jimmy and Kim storyline. Yeah, at Mel MC, yep. I saw that he was supposed to appear in season 5 of Better Call Saul in the episode entitled Dedicado a Max, and it would have made a lot of sense because it's directly related to the Jimmy and Kim storyline, but like I said, because they weren't, because his sort of backstory would have more related to Saul Goodman between '05 and '08, that in no way related to Kim Wexler, because they clearly didn't speak between '04 and 2010 when they finally talked to each other when Gene was in Omaha. We weren't going to see Patrick Kubi, and in hindsight, the writing was kind of on the wall, for better or for worse. Yeah, at X8 Abood, yeah, again, I'm not sure what actual evidence they would have on Ed. That's a really good point. I'm sure he's a very smart guy who would cover his tracks, and like I talked about a little bit earlier, he did have surveillance, and the basement was being surveilled at all times, so if Saul did turn him in, his story would have unraveled completely. But at the end of the day, it's kind of ironic because he sort of is going to jail for the rest of his life, and it really wouldn't have mattered any other way. But I guess in the moment, that's why I would imagine he didn't turn in Ed. And when he finally has this epiphany to atone and face the consequences of what he did, he's not also going to turn in Ed to disappear. He was only going to turn in himself and sort of have himself be accountable for all of the things that he did over the course of Breaking Bad. Don't know what that was. Yeah, at Fropic TV, I tend to agree. I absolutely tend to agree. Yeah, At Francisco Florimon. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about anime. Are you more talking about like an animated series as opposed to like the sort of like the traditional? I feel like anime is more like a certain like genre as opposed to like an animated series. But at Stone Yoda, which episode of Better Call Saul is my favorite? Even if you have one, man, that's tough. I mean, off the top of my head, it's probably Bagman. It's probably Bagman for sure. I would have to say Bagman. Yeah, Daniel Sevilla Jr. Yeah, again, all of the sort of basically like I just talked about, everything that happened between '05 and '08 that I think all fans of Better Call Breaking Bad would have absolutely loved to see. Again, we'll never know. We'll never know whether or not the bodies were discovered, and again, there's so much about the backstory of Breaking Bad that we'll never know. At JV, are there season 6 deleted scenes? I hope so. That would be really cool to see. I definitely like to see what was omitted for sure in this final season. Yeah, and sort of even see if there's sort of different perspectives of scenes that we already got. I would imagine they are going to release the deleted scenes when I guess when they release it on Blu-ray or something to that effect. At Fropic TV, who's my favorite character? Again, that's tough. I mean, it would be hard to say. I mean, are you talking Better Call Saul or the entire universe? That's pretty tough. It'd be hard to pick one for sure. I'm trying to think. My favorite characters in this entire universe. Yeah, it's tough. I don't know if I could pick just one. At No MC, Monday nights are awful now. Yeah, that is I wouldn't say they're awful, but I would say they're diminished. That's for sure. Yeah, that's a great question. At Daniel Sevilla Jr. When it will be available on Netflix? I'm not too sure. And again, I'm not sure how the rights of that all work after AMC has their own streaming service now. So yeah, Nigel. I mean, again, there's so many great questions here. It's so true. There's so much about this universe that's sort of left open ended that we'll never know. That we'll absolutely never know. You know, does Walt Jr. get his money again? Even the sort of grand overall question about Kim Wexler, where we don't know how she's gonna sort of be after she last sees Saul at the end of the series. And it's absolutely true that she's still open to that civil litigation, and that Cheryl Hamlin could absolutely completely destroy her life completely by the sort of taking her for everything she's worth in perpetuity for the wrongful death of Howard Hamlin. And again, while maybe she has some emotional closure here a little bit, again, we don't know what the sort of ultimate fate of her character is going to be. I mean, theoretically, she could go back and see Saul many times over the course of the remainder of their lives in the decades to come. But yeah, again, so many sort of questions we could speculate on forever about this universe. So at Stone Yoda. I recently rewatched the scene where Huel asks Saul why he does what he does. That was in the episode entitled Rock and Hard Place, if I'm not mistaken, noting that he and his wife have legitimate money as lawyers. That hits harder at the finale. Yeah, and again, I mean, there's so much complexity there in respect to the context of what's happening there about them. Again, from Huel's perspective, why are they sort of ripping off this lawyer and stealing his car when, again, they're both lawyers, they both make a lot of money, but of course, unbeknownst to Huel at Stone Yoda, the whole entire premise of Kim Wexler undermining Howard Hamlin for this pro bono practice that she wants to open up. So, yes, so much nuance in that scene. And if I'm not mistaken, that was the only scene that we saw of Huel this season, if I'm not mistaken. We didn't sort of, again, it wasn't about Huel Babineau, and it wasn't about his backstory with Saul Goodman that was happening prior to him meeting Walter White. It was more, again, all in the context of Jimmy and Kim. So yeah, a lot of nuance there for sure in that scene. That was a pretty great one for sure. Yeah, Justin Cruz. I don't think so. I mean, if you read anything that Vince Gilligan's been saying lately, I mean, maybe theoretically he'll sort of come back to this universe at some point, but in the near term future, I don't think we're getting any other iteration. Just, I mean, maybe it will happen down the road, but just based on what I'm reading, I definitely think that Vince Gilligan wants to try some other things first, and he doesn't want to be this one trick pony again. Whether or not you agree with that perspective, that's up to you. But it definitely seems to me at Justin Cruz that the Kim spinoff theoretically possible, but it's not coming anytime soon. And again, I don't even really know what iteration that would take. I mean, I don't think they're going to do a prequel. I mean, I think didn't Ray Seahorn just turn 50? So, I mean, if they sort of, concoct one in 5 years, she'll be 55. She'll be closer to 60 than 50. So yeah, I don't even, I mean, maybe the sort of post era spinoff for Kim Wexler, theoretically, what is up Sam Fisher, but yeah, just based on what I'm reading with Vince Gilligan, I think absolutely it's going to be there. He's done for now. I mean, he has sort of retired the Breaking Bad universe. He may unretire like I don't know what's the analogy, didn't like Tom Brady or something like that, but he definitely seems to want to try other things. He wants to write other stories, and he doesn't want to only be, I guess, known as the guy who created Breaking Bad. But yeah, we'll see. So yeah, Charles Switzer. Yeah, I think she's 50, right? If I'm not mistaken. Is Ray Seahorn 50, or did I totally blank on that? Am I totally wrong? What is up, Brian C? Um, but yeah. So I mean, again, a prequel. I think we're done with prequels. I don't think we're gonna see any prequel. But yeah, we're maybe a post. Yeah, maybe a film, a film not akin to El Camino. So maybe that's theoretically possible, but this universe is done for the time being. And I guess if you're really desperate, you can watch Slippin' Jimmy, but I have not yet dipped into that. My desperation level has not reached that capacity as of yet, so yeah, the human part. To tell you the truth, El Camino's kind of growing on me. I actually have only seen it twice. I watched it for the second time in my life 3 years after I watched it the first time, and it's definitely growing on me as a movie. It really is. I don't know about you, but I definitely it's growing on me for sure. I wouldn't touch Slippin' Jimmy. At Sam Fisher, how'd I feel about the ending now? Again, I mean, I liked it for what it was. Um, like I said, in the overall sort of premise of the series, I talked about this a little bit earlier. I really thought that Better Call Saul would be a true, um, sort of, would truly be the story of the immediate future, the immediate past of prior to Walter White entering this world, but it wasn't that at all. And it's kind of ironic. That's the sort of one component of the story that we didn't get to see. The '05 to '08 period that encompassed everything that was going on, the finishing of the super lab, Saul wheeling and dealing with his sort of laser tag, relationships with Danny, his ice station zebra associates loan all of the sort of nitty gritty that was happening in Saul Goodman's life. None of that was displayed to us. That's the entire component that was omitted from this series, which is very ironic in hindsight. And like I said, in the end, again, it was sort of, it was staring us right in the face the entire time. It was the Jimmy and Kim story. It wasn't the immediate past prior to Walter White entering Saul Goodman's office. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of crazy where, again, I would absolutely love to see all of that. But in hindsight, it's just, I guess the premise was, all of this was sort of emotional coping, and this truly wasn't who Jimmy was, this Saul Goodman character. And I guess it's kind of crazy. I guess it was all sort of sound and fury, maybe the sort of amazing backstories that we'd all love to see prior to Walter White entering this world. But yeah, so again, I don't know. I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was. To tell you the truth, I can't say that I did not break down in tears like Courtney Reviews talked about. I mean, to each their own. I'm not as much of a romantic. I did like the story for what it was. It was sort of very interesting to sort of see Saul finally atone for everything he did. And at the end of the day, it was his decision. And while a lot of people would absolutely think he was crazy for deciding to go to jail for the rest of his life rather than going to jail for 7.5 years, maybe getting out in 6 with good behavior. But yeah, again, at the end of the day, it was his decision. And I don't know. I don't know if anyone else would sort of agree to that, and to feel like you truly have to atone by going to prison for the rest of your life. When again, I think I saw a kind of interesting comment on one of my videos where I guess he could have went to jail for 7.5 years and could have became a sort of Jordan Belfort like character, and they could have made a movie about him, and he could have been a sort of a motivational speaker telling his story. But I guess maybe he feels that truly wouldn't be truly atoning. And again, at the end of the day, I mean, for what it was, he truly had this real sort of emotional connection and relationship with Kim Wexler, and it was all about Kim. At the end of the day, everything he did in the sort of present was for Kim, and she was the sort of only sort of terrestrial terrestrial beneficiary, if that's a term, of all of this. Of course, he also did it for Chuck as well, but again, I mean, little good that does him now. But again, the sort of two people that really had an impact on Jimmy's lives were the sort of reason behind why he did everything he did. Yeah, Jason Osborne. I think it's sort of again. I don't know if that would have been as good of a story. And again, maybe again, it wasn't. Again, it really wasn't even about that. It wasn't even about the sort of atonement. It was he really. I guess it wasn't. Again, how do I phrase this? I'm still sort of thinking about this. It was about atoning, but I guess in his mind, I guess it truly wasn't enough. And again, I don't know what was going on in his mind. I think a lot of people think that 7 years and would have been plenty of time. Again, he never did get that Ben and Jerry stipulation, unfortunately, because he never got that into his initial settlement because the feds rejected it, and what he was going to trade, the Howard Hamlin story, they already knew about, so he never got his ice cream in the end. But yeah, it was just yeah. Again, I don't know. It's again, it's I guess it truly wouldn't be atoning. I guess in Saul Goodman's mind, I mean, it's what he believed. It's what he at Howard Hamlin. He should have taken the job. Yeah, he could have done that as well. But again, in the moment, he just absolutely could not do that. It was not in his it wouldn't be possible. It just he was not in the right emotional state of mind to take that job at the time. Great scene for sure in the episode entitled "The Namaste." Yeah, unbelievable scene there. When Howard's offering him that job, yeah, in hindsight, he should have took sort of a lot of there's a lot of changes of decisions that he could have made over the course of Better Call Saul for sure. So yeah, that's a great point at MC Mel where he truly was just empty. I think that's the entire premise of Breaking Bad. Well, I mean, at least Saul's story in Breaking Bad's a great point. Jimmy didn't want to live another minute without Kim and her respect, and that's the ending. Yeah, that's true. It was more. That's what he wanted. He didn't want, even if he sort of, it wasn't even really about paying his debt entirely. It was also about just truly, I guess, again, I guess, sort of having Kim's respect, if you will. Again, I think that's sort of it. Um, I see what you're getting at there for sure. But yeah, it was truly about just him just having Kim back in his life in any capacity. And this was really the only way to truly do it, was atoning in this manner. I guess this is the only way to sort of truly come clean and truly have Kim back in his life and have his respect again. It's so nuanced. It's so subtle, all of this. But yeah, it's a lot to think about for sure. Yeah, I was I was seeing that Matthias Maldonado. Yeah, the sort of entire outcomes of all of this, where Walt dies, Jesse escapes, and Saul goes to prison. So yeah, it's sort of the trinity of conclusions to sort of all of the characters, the sort of main characters in the story. I guess again, Mike sort of I guess unlocks in there as well. But again, most of the characters ended up like Walter White, if we're being honest, and Matthias. So most characters had sort of Walter White's fate, and it's true. No real character ended up in prison, and I think that was sort of the rationale behind the creators a little bit, where they wanted someone to sort of serve and sort of pay for, I guess truly sort of be sentenced to prison and truly sort of, again, what's the word I'm looking for? Not I mean, I guess suffer, but also I guess pay. I guess yeah, pay the consequences of all the terrible things that these characters did over the course of Breaking Bad. At Joshua V, who do I think got the saddest ending in the Breaking Bad universe? Again, there's that would be hard to say. I mean, there's so many tragic endings. I mean, I've spoken so much on so many of them with Mike, Howard, Nacho, even Walt in many respects. I mean, Marie, Hank. I mean, most of the endings were tragic. I mean, it would be pretty hard to say who had the most tragic ending. That's for sure. So Yeah, add ranch dressing, somber night for sure. Yeah, it's Sam Fisher, Drew Sharp, absolutely. I mean, Skyler, yeah, Walter Jr. and Skyler having their entire lives turned upside down. At MC Mel, Gail, Bedecker, absolutely. I mean, I could go on and on here. I don't know. I guess I would definitely not put Jesse Pinkman in that story. At Nigel Barthmore, Spooge, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, even, Saul, Kim, I mean, everyone sort of had unbelievably tragic endings in this universe. And again, it's sort of, I mean, I know Vince Gilligan has sort of been asked about it. It's something that I've thought about for sure in respect to really blurring the lines of good and evil and the ambiguity of morality and all of this. So it is, yeah, it's a lot of food for thought. At Pete Cruson, that is funny, man. I think you are referring to Ted Beneke. But yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot of tragic endings all around here. So, but to tell you the truth, I mean, I feel like a lot of the sort of endings are pretty clear in respect to Nacho's ending being rather tragic and Howard's as well. And again, I don't again the sort of ending of Mike Ehrmantraut again because that was sort of the one that was displayed to us in Breaking Bad initially, and I just think about just how unbelievably tragic that one in respect to everything that happened with his family. But again, Mike's character is so complex, and even as I sort of start to even think about it here, there's just so much complexity to all of this. And if you go back to the scene that we saw in Fun and Games where he truly reaches out to Nacho's father Manuel and says to him, he basically tries to say I'm just like you, but of course he gets absolute rejection here, and Manuel basically says to him, you're just like the rest of them. You're a gangster just like the rest of them. And so yeah, despite the fact that Mike, yes, everything he sort of did for his family, sort of on the Walter White spectrum, he did do a lot of terrible things over the course of Breaking Bad, and he really sort of, I mean, I don't know if enabled is the right word, but he truly facilitated Gus Fring in the sort of manufacturing and distribution of the methamphetamine. And again, say what you will about that, that's a whole nother thing. I'm just trying to find the sort of right answer to all of this, but at the end of the day, there is no right answer. You could truly go back and forth all day long in respect to all of the sort of examples of morality and all of the very ambiguous scenarios and scenes that were displayed to us over the course of this series. So yeah, it's just a lot of food for thought for sure, and this was quite the series for sure, quite the universe. Yeah, Dom Cincinnati, that's a great point as well. The sort of fact that Howard wasn't in the game, and yes, Mike was in the game at the end of the day, and so was Nacho, and so was Gale in many respects. But yeah, again, Howard's up there for sure. And again, I hate to sort of, again, it's impossible to pick one over the other, say who had the most tragic ending at Dom Cincinnati. They all had unbelievably tragic endings, so. Yeah, I know. I've seen a lot of people mention that at Samuel Fisher about how Better Call Saul didn't have an ending song like a Breaking Bad did. And yeah, again, I think maybe they just kind of wanted to separate themselves from the series. Again, maybe they didn't want to have the shows again. I don't know what was going on in the creators' heads there, but at the end of the day, Better Call Saul was its sort of own independent show. And like I said, it really even wasn't the Breaking Bad prequel. It was the Jimmy and Kim story. That's what it was. I don't even really consider it a Breaking Bad prequel anymore. I know it technically is, but after watching the series, again, it's the Jimmy and Kim story. That's sort of how I view this series in hindsight. And so, yeah, I mean, in the end of the day, I'm still sort of grappling with this ending here. And like I said, at the end of the day, this was Saul's choice. And again, you may not agree with what Saul did at the end here, and you may have not agreed with his decision making, but it was his decision through and through. And he knew what he was doing in respect to putting himself in prison for the rest of his life. And it's truly what he cared about and what he wanted to do with his life. And even the way he was right now, just it's true, like they said, like the sort of comparison of comparing him in prison, working in the kitchen. It was again the parallels were extremely intentional by the creators, where he's taking bread out of the oven, and it's very similar to when he's working at Cinnabon. And he was truly already dead on the inside in many respects, living that life in Omaha. And he truly, again, there's just so much nuance here, and I'll think about this for the rest of my life for sure in respect to what Saul was his sort of decision making, his thinking over the course of his life. But yeah, at the end of the day, this was absolutely Saul's decision. And even if you didn't agree with it, it's what he wanted to do, and it was his choice to atone in this manner. So, and it is kind of funny. I did see a very sort of a funny comment. I don't know if it was on Reddit or YouTube, I forget, but it's kind of funny. And as a vessel to drive the plot forward here, we know that after Jimmy runs out of the house of Marion's house, after she calls the police or she alerts her life alert monitor, and the police are notified. It's actually kind of funny that when if I can find the scene here, it's actually in the very beginning of the episode. But after he runs out of Marion's house, the reason why the police are able to locate Saul so quickly is because she was able to see his license plate. So again, if you just said, this man's in my house, his name is Saul Goodman, um, the way that his identity had been set up by Ed to disappear under Gene Takovic, again, the license plate and everything was likely under Gene's name. So when they ran the plates, it went right to Gene Takovic, and they were able to find his house. But I did see a funny comment where all Saul had to do was take Marion's glasses off before he ran out of the house, and he would have been he maybe would have gotten away in the end, because they wouldn't have had plates, and he would have been able to drive off in the distance, and they would have had absolutely no idea. Yes, there was a man named Saul Goodman in my house, but where does he live? What kind of car did he drive? I mean, I guess, yeah, maybe you'd have the make and model. I mean, that's potentially possible, but if you didn't have Marion ID the car, it would have been really hard to identify Gene Takovic and the police to go to his house very quickly. I found that comment to be kind of funny. Series ruined. Of course, Saul just should have taken her glasses off. He didn't have to kill her or sort of knock her down or take off the life alert monitor. He could have sort of just taken her glasses off, and she wouldn't have been able to ID the car. But yeah, I kind of found that kind of funny. But yeah, all he had to do was, just he could have just taken the life alert monitor also. But again, in the moment, we have absolutely no idea what was going on in Saul Goodman's head. So yeah, I mean, we could sort of nitpick the story all day long. But yeah, it was kind of just kind of a funny comment I saw there for sure. Yeah, that's Sam Fisher. That is quite the question there. You're saying how does Breaking Bad compare to Better Call Saul? And yeah, I have thought about that a little bit in respect to which one I like more after all of this is done. And yeah, it's kind of, I'm definitely leaning one way over the other. I'm actually sort of leaning towards me liking one show more than the other now after the finale. And you can maybe kind of guess which one I'm leaning towards. But yeah, again, maybe my opinion sort of can even change on an hourly basis in respect to those two shows. But in the grand scheme of things, I mean, one is basically about the sort of Albuquerque criminal underworld and the manufacturing and distribution of methamphetamine. And in reality, Better Call Saul, the main storyline was truly about the law. So, in just by definition, a little bit less exciting and a little less, again, well, it's sort of I mean, I don't even know what the term I'm looking for is. A little less, I guess. I don't even know what you describe it as. Just a little less intense and a little less dramatic, if you will, and a little less. Again, there's a word I'm looking at there. Kind of even sort of just interesting, where it's you're kind of drawn to this sort of very sort of interesting aspect of life and society. The sort of Albuquerque sort of criminal underworld, where you kind of want to kind of see just a sort of a display of it on screen, which in no way impacts your life, because of course you want to be no part of this sort of terrible sort of scary. Yes, captivating. That's the word Dobson's narrow. It's definitely more captivating. It's kind of like why I feel like why people are so enthralled with like mob movies like Goodfellas and things of that effect, where you kind of want to see sort of a glimpse into this very interesting component of life, but from a distance, because it's truly very sort of scary, and you really don't want to be truly a part of all the sort of murder and sort of mayhem and the sort of fear that goes on into actually living in this world. So I think that's what's a little bit more sort of intriguing about Breaking Bad from the sort of overall premise of the show, as opposed to Better Call Saul, which in reality is the main show is just about the law. There's a lot of shows about the law. A lot of people work in the law. I feel like there's a lot more people who work in the legal profession than work in the mob, or who. Maybe I'm misspoken here, but you see what I'm getting at here. It's more captivating of a storyline compared to the legal community. So, At whoa, what is this? Thank you so much for the super chat, man. Really appreciate it. So thank you so much. C told y'all it's Better Call Saul. Uh, Again, I'm not sure what you're getting at there. In respect to, are you saying that that's the one you like better than Breaking Bad? Again, definitely entitled to your opinion for sure. I'd be happy to speak on that a little bit more if you clarify that. But yeah, really appreciate the super chat. At whoa, that's it. Thank you so much for the support. Yeah, Zig. Yeah, I agree. Both are extremely engaging for many respect in their own individual respects. I would agree completely at Ziggy, but I think it's no coincidence that Breaking Bad was much more popular and even a cultural phenomenon during the part two of season six. And Better Call Saul, for what it's worth, just really never got there. It never did. It never had the sort of viewership or even the sort of cultural presence that Breaking Bad had. And I know we're in the streaming era now, so TV ratings are kind of extremely skewed. But yeah, yeah, it never kind of caught on in the same way. It never did. I thought maybe it would eventually when the overlap started to happen more, but it just never caught on in the same manner. So yeah, much more explosive. Yeah, I see what you did there. But I mean, fair amount of explosions in Better Call Saul, literally. But yeah, that's interesting. Sort of. I never thought about that. Melon Lord 58. Breaking Bad is a better show. Better Call Saul is a better story. Again, that's sort of interesting. I sort of I see what you're getting at there. I do like that perspective for sure. I mean that's kind of a loaded sort of term for sure. I mean I think the story of Breaking Bad is unbelievable as well. Again, it's really hard to say one is better than the other, but one was definitely more popular than the other. That was for damn sure. So and yeah, at Stone Yoda, I know a lot of people who have seen Breaking Bad who have never seen Better Call Saul. I know they exist. And I know apparently if people have seen Better Call Saul who have never seen Breaking Bad, but I've never met any people. I've never met any of those people. To tell you the truth, I mean I don't know if anyone out there knows someone who's seen Better Call Saul and never seen Breaking Bad. Those people apparently exist, but I've never met any of them. But I do know several people who have seen Breaking Bad who to this day just never watched Better Call Saul. It never caught on. Really, yeah, Deacon. Wow, you watched Better Call Saul before Breaking Bad. You are that is an interesting perspective. That's a perspective I will never have, and that's kind of interesting. So yeah, that's again I've wondered about people who did that, so that's kind of interesting. Yeah, Ronnie and Fuse, though both are better than any other show in that time frame. Yeah, like I said, there's so much good TV out there that I feel like I'm gonna have to, maybe think about watching at Ronnie Infused. I mean, there's so much going on. I mean, didn't some sort of a Game of Thrones spinoff just happen or something to that effect? Again, I've never seen Game of Thrones, so I'm probably not gonna be watching the spinoff. I guess I could watch the spinoff without seeing Game of Thrones. Yeah, add beard up, beard down. Barry is good. Yep, I've seen good things about Barry. I've never seen Barry. Some people say I look like one of the characters on that show, but yeah, yeah. At Don Simpson era, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of about like the fantasy genre. I'm more kind of I kind of more like reality. I mean, no offense to people who like the sort of fantasy genre, but me personally, I feel like this may come across in a certain way, but I just find reality very interesting. I find reality sort of interesting enough and extremely sort of enthralling of something I would, want to focus on. Where again, I don't feel like I really need the sort of sci-fi and the sort of supernatural sort of elements of television interjected into reality. Again, I've seen some movies and series like that, but yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of sci-fi. So and fantasy. Yeah, it's Stone Yoda. What other dramas have I seen? Not a lot, honestly. Not a lot. Like, I feel like my other TV viewing habits, other than Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, are quite it's quite a stark contrast. So Yeah, I don't even like. I haven't really seen a lot of dramas. Not like this. Really, not like this for sure. Yeah, Sam. I've heard good things about Fargo at Sam Fisher. Yeah, and The Sopranos as well. At what is this? So yeah, I've never seen The Sopranos. Again, I kind of I've heard good things about Succession. I'm not too familiar with the series, but I know it's like it's just kind of a regular show. It's not based in like sci-fi or fantasy or anything like that. So I kind of was interested in Succession, but still never watched it. Yeah, I never seen Mad Men either. So yeah, House of Dragon, never heard of that. So yeah, so many good shows out there. So add Beard Up, Beard Down. Thank you so much for the super chat. NoHo Hank played Ziza from Gotham. I do know NoHo Hank, the sort of character. The what is he, like a Russian mobster on Barry? But I'm not sure by played by Ziza from Gotham. Again, is he also in the show Gotham? So I'm not. I know there's a show called Gotham, but I'm not too familiar with it. So yeah, never seen Barry. I've heard good things about that. Is that still going on? I don't even know if that's still going. I imagine it's still going on. So yeah, Peaky Blinders as well. I've heard amazing things about that as well. So many great shows I just haven't seen. I've seen that. I've heard amazing things about Peaky Blinders. That is true. That's a show I could maybe. Did that one just wrap up, or is that still going on too at Peaky Blinders? So and add Beard Up, Beard Down. Thank you again so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. And again, it's kind of I've also thought about that as well in respect to the sort of streaming versus television aspect of a show. Where even a show like Ozark, I know was extremely popular, but all the entire sort of season came out at one time. And when that happens, I feel like myself included, everyone tends to binge watch the show as opposed to one episode coming up every single week and sort of really ruminating and thinking on the episode in between each week, as opposed to really just sort of, I guess, ruminating on each season in anticipation for the next season that comes up. So I guess that's sort of another sort of component of watching a show that is streaming versus on the sort of classical television format. Yeah, Omar, favorite episode of Breaking Bad slash Better Call Saul. I talked about for Better Call Saul. I mean, it might be Bagman off the top of my mind. To tell you the truth, I think Bagman might be one of my favorite episodes of a Better Call Saul. Breaking Bad, that is tough. That is so tough. It'd probably be easier for me to say my favorite episode of each season. So yeah, that'd be tough, for sure. I mean, there's so many good ones that come to mind in Breaking Bad. I love 4 Days Out. I love Dead Freight. I mean, Ozymandias, Tahajali, unbelievable episodes. So yeah, it'd be tough. That'd be tough for sure. I mean, so there's so many great episodes. I mean, yeah, Face Off, but yeah, 4 Days Out. Yeah, that has a special, yeah, a special spot in my heart. That's funny at Stone Yoda. So, Shell, favorite era of Saul Goodman. I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. I think my favorite era of Saul Goodman is the one we didn't get to see. I was really hoping we'd get to see the '05 to '08 Saul Goodman prior to Walter White walking into his office in season 2 of Breaking Bad. But like I said earlier in this stream, that's not what the story of Better Call Saul was about. It was about the story of Jimmy and Kim. So yeah, it's true. I mean, it's so. I mean, when you say pick your one favorite episode, I mean, Ziggy, Rock and Hard Place, Plan and Execution, unbelievable episodes as well. It'd be hard to say, one is better than the other. And like I said, at the time, back when season 5 ended, I'd say Bagman was my favorite episode. But I mean, Bad Choice Road was unbelievable of an episode. And yeah, so again, it's impossible to pick one. It really is. I mean, there's so many great episodes out there. So yeah, it's impossible. There's too many. Absolutely way too many. At Joe Gossett, absolutely, absolutely, I'd watch a new show. That's actually kind of an interesting idea where you don't even have to rely on the. I mean, I feel at the end of the day there have to be some overlap for sure, but yeah, absolutely, I would absolutely watch a new show that was set in this universe with completely new characters. I mean, again, it's a big world out there, Walt. A lot of methods, as Mike said to Walter White in season 5 of Breaking Bad, the episode entitled "Buyout." So there's a lot of world out there, a lot to talk about. There's more than just the Don Eladio's Cartel and Walter White and Jimmy and Kim and Gus Fring's Empire. I mean, there's an entire world out there. That's actually a really interesting sort of premise that Joe Gossett, a brand new sort of set of characters that are completely unrelated to this universe. So yeah, I think everyone would watch that. That sounds actually extremely intriguing. Yeah, I mean, I had Long John, I had Long John Teabag, nice name, but yeah, Full Measure. Again, there's too many. There's too many unbelievable episodes out there. So, and to tell you the truth, I mean, I think a very underrated episode, one of my favorite of all time, is a no rough stuff type deal, the season one finale of Breaking Bad. I think that one is just a very underrated episode. I mean, just great, so many great scenes in that episode. I mean that is truly. I mean, that's a sort of episode I feel like I don't give enough sort of a props to. I mean, the season one finale was absolutely unbelievable. So many great scenes in there, from the first drug deal that Tuco does with Walton Jesse, where he only has a half pound. You know, you tell me 2 pounds and you waste my time with these chiclets. I mean, great scene. Walt then saying, I want it all. You like this product and you want more of it. Consider it a capital investment. And the way he takes the sort of vig for the 4 pounds. That can you handle 4 pounds? Jesse thinking that's, 300 boxes of sinus pills, but of course, unbeknownst to Jesse at the time, he's switching his cook to a P2P cook. They do that unbelievable scene where they rob Southwest and Anilin for the 50-gallon drum of methylamine. So yeah, I love that episode of No Rough Stuff type deal. That was again, I think that's one of the most underrated episodes of Breaking Bad that truly doesn't get enough credit. I mean, I love season one. I mean, season one was just unbelievable. So many great episodes in season one. So yeah, at Heaney, yeah. Why we wait out here? The mall closed or something? Yeah, great scene. So yeah, I love season one. Season one again. I mean, I know a lot of. I mean, season five gets a lot of props, but again, I think season one's so underrated. Such an under. I love season one. Again, off the top of my head, it'd be hard to say which is my favorite, but it may be my favorite sort of. It may be my favorite season. I mean, off the top of my head, it really is. So I mean, yeah, from the pilot to Cats in the Bag and the Bags in the River, and after that, Cancer Man, Gray Matter. Yeah, just unbelievable, unbelievable final sets of episodes. So yeah, Justin Cruz. I mean, again, it's impossible. We could sit here all day. Yeah, say my name. 1 minute. I mean, there's so many. So thoughts on Fly. I mean, yeah. It was a bottle episode, and yeah, I've spoken on it a little bit. I mean, again, it was a bottle episode, and again, it was very polarizing. And I feel like in hindsight, people liked it a lot more than when they first watched it at the time. But yeah, I mean, there's a whole sort of you could go on forever about that. So yeah, I see you. The one after 1 minute. Yeah, great episode as well, Justin Cruz. So that is a tough one. At Relax and Sleep, my least favorite Breaking Bad slash Better Call Saul episode. That is a tough one. That's a tough one. So I mean, I have an answer right off the top of my head for both shows. I really do. But again, I feel like it's both very very loaded. But honestly, I mean, it's kind of I mean, you can probably see where I'm getting at with this. But if I had to answer, if I had to answer this question, um, my least favorite episodes of both shows. I mean, as tough as to say, I would have to say. I would have to say Felina and Saul Gone. I would have to say those just because it was kind of the sort of last iteration of both shows. And again, I know it's impossible to again to sort of please everyone, but again, I feel like me personally. I mean, again, it's not my show. I'm just sort of watching the creators. It's their sort of universe. But yeah, again, I feel like as I've sort of talked about both sort of series. I feel like it wasn't exactly how I envisioned the show ending, but again, that's just sort of my opinion. So yeah, I would have to say Felina and Saul Gone, if you know what I mean, at Relax and Sleep. So that's what I'd have to say. But yeah, at the end of the day, just like I said, unbelievable universe, and like I would absolutely be open to seeing more. But like I said, like uh, like Vince Gilligan sort of said, we're really not going to probably get any iteration of this universe for quite a while. So yeah, it's Sam Fisher again. I think it's sort of reached its sort of maximum capacity, if you will. I think again, I agree with sort of Vince Gilligan, where he sort of caught lightning in a bottle several times, and he's happy with what he created and wants to move on to something else. And I'm absolutely totally cool with that, completely. So Long John Teabag, that is funny right there. That is funny. Yeah, that shell. I would recommend it. I mean, again, as a this advice may be worth the paper it's written on, but I would recommend everyone out there. I would recommend you hydrate. I would. It's something that it will make your life better. At Shell, I would have to say it has improved my life tremendously. So I would definitely recommend hydrating. It's something that a lot of people don't do, and I would recommend it. So you can take with that advice what you will with it. So yeah. After all was said and done, Henry Walt. Yeah, again, again, I don't want to speak on. Again, I feel like I've made my thoughts said about Jesse Pinkman. So, ooh, but yeah, I mean, it was. This has been quite a ride for sure in respect to this universe, and yeah, I mean, again, it was sort of a just a little bit that I just want to say here. And yeah, like I said, it was just again, I'm still sort of really kind of grappling with the sort of. I mean, maybe I should have seen it coming. Maybe a lot of people out there saw it coming, but I really kind of didn't expect this entire series to be a love story, which is what it was. It was truly the Jimmy and Kim story. And it wasn't the sort of Breaking Bad prequel that I think a lot of fans thought we would see. And the sort of, it's kind of ironic where the one real component of this universe that we did not see was Saul Goodman immediately prior to Breaking Bad, which I think all fans of this show thought this show would display to us. So yeah, I'm still sort of processing all of that. It's again, yeah, it's Stone Yoda. It's a little bit surreal that it's all over, and yeah, I'm still kind of taken aback by the sort of surprise about like I said, the one major thing we never got to see was Saul Goodman. That's the one thing we never got to see. We never got to really see Saul Goodman, and that was just sort of the that was truly the sort of big twist that was happening all along. But I don't know. Maybe in hindsight, back when the show was being created, I should have seen that. But again, I don't really know what the intention for the creators was, and I don't know. I truly don't think they had a true sort of final destination for this entire series. I mean, I've even heard Vince Gilligan say he even said it on the episode of Talking Saul where he even really didn't even feel the need to bring Lalo Salamanca into the fold. It really wasn't something. Well, we sort of have this story concocted and we know where it's going. It really sort of ebbed and flowed as it was written. So yeah, it was sort of kind of crazy where it ended up. And again, maybe they didn't even sort of know this was sort of the sort of Jimmy and Kim story all along, and that's what this universe was painted into. But yeah, it was quite a ride for sure. And again, yes, I think it is still a little bit of a surreal that it's all over. I think I truly haven't maybe I think maybe I'm still a little bit in denial that this is it's over and that this universe is finally completed. That it's Monday night now and there's no new show to talk about. But yeah, it's been quite a ride for sure. So yeah, with that, I think I'm going to have to end it here. But yeah, like I said, I'm definitely thinking about new shows to watch in the future. I'm definitely there's a lot of things that I've thought about, a lot of great recommendations that a lot of people have given to me. But yeah, it's been quite a ride, and for sure. And like I said, I'm not too sure what the future holds for myself. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of sort of interesting things that I will maybe watch and maybe talk about in the future, and it's just kind of interesting to see where everything goes. So with that, I will have to end it there. But yeah, I really appreciate everyone for tuning in tonight. Really appreciate the super chats, and like I said, don't know what the future holds, but I'm looking forward to it nonetheless. So take it easy, guys. Have a great week, and I'll see you when I see you. Thanks a lot for tuning in.